Definitely a double-edged sword. So another, topic
Yeah.
in the HBCU world that's, got love and hate is, Deion Sanders heading to Jackson State. It's obviously a big boost of just eyeballs
Right.
for one,
Mhm.
and
Oh yeah.
a lot of new recruits to HBCUs that might not have had them on their radar before. What do you think about Deion going to an HBCU to coach?
Oh, I think I'm more really. It's more for good than bad because they go for name and like like your Nick Saban, your who else? Les Miles, stuff like that. People like just high name profile coaches. So I think for some kids to realize to get coached by one of if not one of the best, if not the best, one of the best defensive back returners in history.
Right.
That's huge. Like a lot of them will go just because it's Deion Sanders, and not only can you pick his brain for his knowledge for football, but his connections in the league are kind of really good too. So he might be able to give you personal vouchers to help you get to the next level that some coaches couldn't at the HBCU level.
So yeah, it's definitely a double-edged sword. I feel like it's gonna have way more benefits, to HBCUs than it will tarnish them. But one of the arguments that some people have against it is saying, he's on everything like I'm going after dogs. I'm just getting straight dogs. And some people in the HBCU community are like, is he going to be taking scholarships away from, the underdog guys who usually HBCUs were their only option?
Yeah.
What you think about it?
Well, yeah, I guess I never thought about that because I mean one could even say I was an underdog, with the few offers I had. Mm-hmm. So I don't, and that's kind of the HBCU's kryptonite. As more and more teams get success, do they start chasing those names like that, the stars? Do they leave a lot of the the hungry guys who just want one chance and take it and blow up like myself, Tariq, Bam, Tony. Like a lot of us didn't have a lot of offers, so we just had the dog mentality to go in there and get it. So when you start chasing guys who have multiple offers and they pick your school, they get a sense of entitlement. Like I had these so-and-so offers. I'm at your school. Like, what can you do for me instead of, what they can do for the school? Like, and they don't. I just think some of that hustle factor kind of goes out the window when you start getting those hungry one or two offer guys who just, were legitimate players, but just not a lot of people took a chance on them. So I think with Deion Sanders, he's prime time. He's the stars, he's lights. He wants the flash, the end of your cameras, the face. He wants to be the face of everything. So with that personality, you start getting players that try to match that personality. Then you're down home, humble guys who are just hard workers.
Right.
You gradually see them seep out. And I think that's kind of what the danger everybody's worried about.
That's a good point.
That is a super good point because you said it yourself, like that a lot of times those dogs are the ones who don't have all the opportunities, who don't get all the the national attention, who don't get all that fame and stuff coming out of high school. So he's kind of it can go either way. I mean, sometimes you do have the ones that do stay humble even with all the hype, but it's gonna be hard. But if anybody can handle I guess people with egos, it's prime time because even though he was a great player, he did have a little bit of ego. So we'll see. Right, we'll see what happens there. But since you are an Aggie, Brandon, we gotta ask you about A&T leaving the MEAC. So how do you feel about that, and what's going on with the MEAC? Because they've had a lot of teams dip out now.
Everybody.
So literally everybody. What's going on with the MEAC, man? Can you give us any insight of that? What's the problem?
I remember being at A&T my last year and seeing Hampton leave and being like, man, what's wrong with them? Like, why would they leave? And then 2 years later, we're leaving. So I think I would love to say A&T always leads the way and kind of seeing, a battered ship sinking in a sense. Like I think they had to have some insight and know that either A, schools are running out of money, or B, schools were just starting to take other interests. And, unfortunately, the MEAC was just going to be, the downfall of all that. So I think they knew or had a tip of what's going on. So I feel like they just, grabbed the bags that they had and just decided to go somewhere else before it completely fell out, I hate it because, I love the culture of MEAC. I love seeing MEAC schools play each other for the bragging rights and the homecomings of different teams meeting. Like, we went to FAMU's homecoming when Howard came to ours. It attracts crowds because we want to be, the ultimate HBCU and had those bragging rights. So with us going to the Big South, I think that kind of goes out the window. Now, I think the only thing that could possibly save it is if you have another HBCU. Well, Hampton's already in there. So imagine if Central decides to follow suit and goes to the Big South. So then you keep a couple of HBCU rivalries. So I think, I hate the move happened, but I understand why they did it, and I think they're kind of smart for taking the choice of, for kind of taking their pickings of where they wanted to go instead of going with like the last choice because they had to.
Yeah, and the biggest thing I remember around the time where the news was breaking, everybody was asking Sam Washington. They kind of had him in the hot seat, picking, his brain, asking him, because, a lot of people are like, oh, A&T is a traitor, like they're leaving the HBCU conference and now they're going to a non-HBCU conference. And his goal was, he said that, of course, I'm the coach, I don't make all the decisions, but, we're trying to move up. Like, that's what you want to do. It doesn't matter if you're A&T, if you're Clemson, you want to see your program grow. So what do you think about that? Because, they're looking to make the transition, the FCS, FBS transition in the future.
Well, as much as I love the MEAC, you got to kind of honor that. Unfortunately, the Big South and, the Southern Conference and some of those, the CAA, they have a little bit more respect than, in the whole sports world than the MEAC. So I think even though technically we're on a lateral level, as it's still FCS, I think that is kind of a 45-degree angle type move. It's not all the way up, but it is gradually going up. Yeah. So you go from the Big South to, you dominate the Big South, and then you go from the Big South to like the Sun Belt. Mm-hmm. And, who knows where you can go? Who knows where A&T is going to be in 40, 50 years if they keep being the dominant A&T that they need to be. They just keep going up. They keep getting invited to more conferences, and then eventually you'll become like a Tennessee State type of team. You'll be BCS with the same love and character and talent we've always had, but now we get the recognition, and then you just keep seeing us take off and go to another elite level. So I think I see what he's saying, and as far as this can be great for us, but sometimes we just are nearsighted and can't really see the end result. We just see like, oh man, the traitor, this, that, and the fourth, and are we even HBC anymore? I think they just, like you said, playing chess. They're just trying to take the queen. That's all.
There it goes.